And now we're gonna be ready for our spotlight, so let me, presentation going
That's the one.
here. All right, I'll share the screen, so Linda, thumbs up, can you see that? All right, let me get this.
Okay, so if it actually I want to.
Is that?
I just put these on. How do I get the control bar off of it?
I know
Because
that's
the button I need is right there. Okay, that's all I
That
wanted.
one?
That's all I wanted. Okay, and Linda, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna stand here just so I can get to the mic.
Do you want a wireless mic?
No, that's fine. Okay, so half of us are in the financial and insurance industry, right? So we already know all this stuff anyway, right? And those of you who know me know that I'm not like you guys. I am pretty much a cynic. I was a software engineer for 40 years, and when I got tired of, sitting in front of a computer and thinking all day, I wanted to go out and talk to people. And in the years I've been doing this, talking to people, what I find is all this stuff is great for people who have money, but most of us don't. Those of us in the room do. We've started businesses that's what I call productive use of capital. But most people out there are consuming, and they're not actually producing anything with their money. So, and also in my lifetime, I've seen it go from you accumulated assets that were worth something to debt-driven consumption. And I can't think of a more fragile system than debt-fueled consumption. But that's what we're living in now. Okay, so insurance is about risk, right? What are the risks? What is the risk that I'm going to have in a particular, and it changes over your life. So that's why I put this together. When you first start, and you're young and you're healthy, the chance of you dying is much lower than the chance of losing your job. So you should probably have some kind of disability insurance that will give you an income if you have no job. If you are not healthy, yes, you should have other things in place, but you can put so much insurance in place that it uses 100% of your income. And what good does that do you, because when you go to use the insurance, say your house takes a hit and you have to use that, it doesn't pay for the whole thing. Where's that extra money coming from? So you can't spend your whole income on insurance. You have to pick and choose over your life what makes sense for you. Life insurance is great if you're rich and you want to pass it on to your kids. It's when you're in this area where having, no job means how am I going to feed the kids, you probably ought to have at least term life. I mean, something for your family in case. But then you also ought to start thinking about 40 years down the road. Get that long term or the annuity at a lower cost. And yes, you'll have to pay for it over a longer period of time, but it won't hit your budget quite as hard. So one of the things that I found that people don't understand, and I certainly didn't, I was on employer group insurance, so I thought that's how it all was. Figuring out the difference between benefit style and indemnity style plans was a big step forward for me. So a benefit style plan, you go to the doctor, you come out with a long list of things they did to you, and the insurance will pay for some of everything. Indemnity is like, we'll pay you a fixed amount for certain things, and the rest of it is on you. So you gotta come up with money. I threw in Sidecar Health because I did see a few ads for it. I contracted with them, but I never really could find anybody who actually needed it. It's the paid as you go. So I guess maybe if you were 30 and single and never, just needed something, if you had to go to an urgent care center, it's like a Visa card, and you give it to them, and there's a fixed amount for it. I expect to see more of that as the years go by for people who just need, help, but not full-blown insurance. But if you're like laid off and you expect to be getting a job, you can go on COBRA, or you can do short-term medical. That is typically fixed indemnity style. Lately, they've been coming up with life insurance products called Life with Living Benefits, which is a better way of doing long-term care insurance. Is very difficult to get. I don't even sell it. I mean, you have to look at so many different things, and a lot of the insurers went belly up once they started having to pay out. But Life with Living Benefits is triggered by a health event. So I expect over the next decade or so for the traditional long-term care to be replaced by these types of policies. Okay, so we're not corporate wage slaves, right? We own businesses. If you have employees, you have a Department of Labor requirement to do certain things. Workman's comp is one of those excess and surplus lines that very few people understand. And I don't sell, but I know a lot of people who do. I mean, so if you're in the position of like you grow your agency and you get some employees and you want to, cover them, you might consider that. Okay, now, healthcare.gov is the major medical way of covering yourself. We sometimes call it individual or family policies. Sometimes we call it I hate it when that happens. Well, yeah, marketplace plans, but well, I lost it. Never mind. It's major medical, and again, over time, they have been going from fee-for-service, which is you go to the doctor, you pay for whatever procedures they did, to a managed care paradigm. And I think this is the biggest change that people need to understand. A managed care paradigm means you have a primary care doctor who oversees all of your medical care, all your specialists, all your treatments, all your drugs, and to try to prevent that overlap of, duplicate drugs. And it is not necessary to have that if you don't need hospitalization. You can get by with short-term medical. And so when you hear people give their elevator speeches, if they're talking about, if they give you the story about, family of four paying $2,500 a month for insurance, and I can switch them to this great stuff that only costs them $900 a month, it's almost guaranteed to be an indemnity stack, which is fine if you know what you're doing. Now, by stack, what I mean is, in addition to medical, you may put heart, cancer, I can't think of there are several other flavors of that coming out. But like I say, I mean, you can spend all your money on insurance if you want. You can cover everything that could possibly ever happen to you. But what you need to do is figure out, what are the odds that me personally, am going to have this happen? What are the odds that my house is going to burn down? Not as great as the odds that somebody's going to slip and fall on my sidewalk and sue me. I have homeowners insurance, you know, for that. Once you, if the managed care paradigm works for you, then healthcare.gov and Medicare Advantage is fine for you. And even some employer group insurance with HMOs, you get used to that. And as long as all your doctors are in network, then really the only thing that's going to eat into your retirement savings are the prescriptions. And we're trying to get a handle on that, but it's going to take a while. You can, if you have certain issues, and I'm not talking about diabetes. If you're a diabetic, they have all sorts of plans that'll help you out. If you have some other problem, and the new prescription drugs are really helping you, they're very expensive. You can spend almost 10 grand a year just on the drugs. And we're trying to bring that down to 2,000, but it'll take a while. Yeah. And then at the end, of course, final expense. But the one thing, okay, we're in a room full of business people, right? We have money. What I'm finding is that most people go into retirement without anything. Life has just hit them hard, you know, one medical incident, one child with a disability. I mean, it doesn't take much to just suck all your resources down, and you end up with no assets. And that's when you get into the government programs. So when you see and it's coming up in a couple weeks, we're gonna be inundated with the ads. Are you getting all the benefits you deserve? And they list a bunch of stuff like meals and transportation and over the counter and all that. They're looking for people who may be on Medicare Advantage already, that they want to switch to dual special needs plan. Now, by dual, I mean Medicare and Medicaid. So Medicare is national, Medicaid is state. In Texas, you can't get it if you are under 65, unless you're pregnant, and even then, as soon as you have a kid, you're kicked off. So Medicare, Medicaid, and then these dual plans that take care of a lot more benefits, and they're adding benefits every year, things like utility bills, you know, paying for your heating in the winter so that you don't freeze to death. These are for people that have no money, no assets. And so when they die, who's gonna pay for the funeral, right? It can't come out of the estate because there is none. So that's what final expense insurance is for, and it's really cheap. So if that's, you know, if you're down in those lower income, or if you are talking to people who are in those lower income echelons, I highly recommend that they at least get a burial policy, so that's, yeah, they're not putting it on their credit cards. Okay, well, okay. The last thing I'm gonna say is, healthcare. I don't tell any of this. Don't care. Seriously. I know people who do. You know, I need life insurance. I can see 4 people right here that sell it to you. Take care of your final expenses, John, right? I mean, do it in advance. My mother did. She was really poor, so. It makes sense. You sell insurance, you can do all that, right? So we all work together, right? My focus is healthcare.gov, medicare.gov, and some of the fillers, dental, vision, hearing. But, for the other stuff, I mean, any of us will look over your entire picture, right? You're trying to get the big picture of your life and figure out what we can do for you within your budget. And so we rely on each other to help the people that we come in contact with. So that's what we do.
Thank you, Jean, for that.
I'm